The planet Tarsk was a dry red world. Dust covered everything. Giant stone walls surrounded the famous Tarsk Arena, a place where the rich and powerful aliens came to watch blood and death. Inside, strange beasts fought slaves. Only the strongest survived. In the slave cells under the arena, a young human named Eli Ward sat alone. He wore a dirty shirt, torn pants, and bruises on his arms. His brown hair was messy, and his green eyes looked tired, but not afraid. Eli had been captured. 3 days ago, he was just a scavenger from Earth, traveling alone on an old cargo ship. He was looking for scrap parts on a forgotten moon when the Tarsk soldiers attacked. They broke his ship, took him prisoner, and threw him into the cells like trash. Guards laughed when they saw he was human. "Look at this soft one," a tall blue alien guard said. "He won't last a minute in the arena." Now, Eli sat in silence. He had seen other prisoners taken into the arena. None of them came back. Today was his turn. The arena floor was wide and covered in old blood. The crowd sat high above in metal. Seats. Loud music echoed from speakers as a deep voice shouted in the alien tongue, "Let the next match begin!" Gates opened. 2 guards pushed Eli forward. He stumbled, but stood tall. The bright sunlight hit his face as he walked into the arena. The crowd laughed when they saw him. "A human? What is this joke?" one alien noble said. From the royal balcony, a huge armored alien stood. He had gray skin, black armor, and a helmet with red horns. This was Kruvak the Fang, the famous beastmaster of Tarsk. He raised his hand to silence the crowd. "This one is from Earth," Kruvak said. "They say humans are clever. Let's see if that helps him today." A giant gate opened on the other side of the arena. Heavy chains dragged on the ground. Then came the sound. Deep growls, followed by a monstrous roar. Out stepped a massive beast. The creature had 4 glowing eyes, sharp claws, and thick armor plates on its back. It looked like a mix between a bear and a lizard, with 2 strong tails swinging behind it. The crowd cheered wildly. "This is Drelgor," Kruvak shouted. "He has killed 30 champions. Let's see if the human will kneel." He turned to Eli and pointed at him. "Kneel, human, unless you want my alien beast to tear you to pieces." Eli looked up at Kruvak. His heart beat fast. Sweat ran down his face, but he didn't kneel. Instead, he stood still and studied the beast. Drelgor roared and charged forward. The ground shook under its feet. Eli jumped to the side, barely missing the first strike. The crowd laughed again. They expected the beast to crush him in seconds. But Eli didn't run. He kept moving around the arena, staying just out of reach. He looked closely at Drelgor's neck and saw something strange. There was a metal collar with blinking lights and wires. "It's controlled," Eli whispered to himself. He dodged another attack, then rolled behind a pile of bones and broken armor. He found a small metal rod, part of an old weapon, and grabbed it. When Drelgor came again, Eli threw sand into its face. The beast blinked and slowed down. That gave him time. Eli quickly reached into his boot and pulled out a tiny gadget he had hidden since capture, a broken signal disruptor he had fixed while in his cell. It was weak, but maybe it would work. He pressed the button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Drelgor stopped. It blinked. Its body shook like something inside it was confused. Its head turned away from Eli. Slowly, the beast looked up at the balcony. It growled at Kruvak. The crowd went silent. Kruvak stepped back in surprise. "What is this?" he shouted. Drelgor didn't move. It just stared at Kruvak, breathing heavily. Eli took a step closer to the beast. Carefully, he raised his hand and placed it on Drelgor's shoulder. The beast flinched, but didn't attack. Gasps filled the arena. "The human touched it?" someone said. Kruvak's eyes burned with anger. "Stop this! Kill him! Obey me, beast!" He pressed a button on his control stick, but Drelgor didn't move. The signal disruptor was working. Not fully, but enough to block commands. Eli looked up at the alien warlord and said loud enough for all to hear, "I don't kneel!" The announcer didn't know what to do. The match wasn't ending with blood. There was no clear winner. Kruvak's face twisted in rage. "Enough games! Guards! Kill the human and reset the beast!" But the crowd had seen something new today. They stood up. Some even cheered for the human. A human faced a death beast and lived. He turned the beast away from Kruvak. Kruvak saw the reaction and held up his hand. He faked a smile and shouted, "Let him live! For now! But his next fight will not be so lucky!" Eli was taken back to his cell. As the gates closed, he looked over his shoulder. Drelgor was still watching him, not with anger, but with something else. Curiosity? That night, as the moons of Tarsk rose high, Eli sat in the corner of his cell. The signal disruptor was hidden again in his boot. He knew it wouldn't last long. The power was fading, but he had done something no one expected. He survived. He made a beast stop, and now the entire arena was talking about the human who refused to kneel. The next morning, Eli woke to the sound of heavy boots and metal chains. The slave guards were marching again. Other prisoners stayed quiet, afraid to move or speak. But Eli sat up and watched everything closely. He was always watching now. News of his survival had spread fast. Whispers echoed through the prison walls. The human lived. He touched the beast. He made Drelgor stop. Even the guards looked at him differently now. They didn't laugh or spit anymore. They kept their distance. One of them, a short green alien with tusks, stared at him as if unsure whether to fear him or mock him. Eli didn't speak much. He spent his time thinking. He had one small tool left, his broken, half-working signal disruptor. And he knew the control system in Drelgor's collar could be hacked if he had the right parts. But inside a slave prison, parts were rare. He had to get clever, so he started collecting. In the training yard, Eli offered to help the cleaning droids. Most ignored him, but one old droid responded with a buzz. Assist mode accepted. As he worked, Eli stole a tiny energy chip and a cracked wire coil. At night, back in his cell, he worked under his sleeping mat using sharp pieces of bone as tools. He soldered wires with a heated spoon. He fixed the circuit board with patience and calm hands. The other slaves didn't understand him, but they left him alone. Then, 2 nights later, a voice spoke from the shadows. "You're the one who made." The beast paused. Eli looked up. A tall alien stood near the bars. She had gray-blue skin and golden eyes. Her name was Sira, a warrior from the Rockery tribes. She had lost her freedom weeks ago and was known for breaking a guard's nose with. "Her fists, I saw you," she said, stepping closer. "You're not just lucky. You did something." Eli nodded. "I understood the machine, the collar. It wasn't just a beast. It was programmed." Sira squinted. "Then you're more dangerous than we thought." She left without saying more. 2 days later, Eli was called again. The arena roared with excitement. This time, Kruvak had a new plan. He wanted to humiliate the human. He released 2 beasts at once, both smaller than Drelgor, but still deadly. As Eli stepped into the arena, Kruvak grinned from the balcony. "This time," he shouted, "you die fast." Eli looked at the 2 beasts. One had sharp wings and red eyes. The other walked like a spider and hissed with every step. He didn't run. Instead, he moved toward a broken metal post in the corner. It had a power box at the base, damaged but still blinking. He remembered seeing it from his last fight. The crowd thought he was hiding, but Eli had a plan. The beasts charged. Eli reached the power box and yanked out the main wire. Sparks flew. He connected the chip from his pocket, one he stole from the old cleaning droid. It sent a short burst of interference through the air. Both beasts staggered. The spider beast screamed and turned the wrong way. The flying one crashed into a wall. Eli used the distraction. He ran behind the spider beast and jumped on its back. He didn't try to kill it. Instead, he pulled open its control panel. Every beast had one and ripped out the power link. It went limp. Kruvak stood, up in shock. The flying beast tried to rise, but Eli pressed his disruptor again. A soft blue wave of light pulsed through the arena. The beast shrieked and fell. Silence, then cheers, loud, wild cheers. The crowd had never seen anything like it. A human, using no sword, no armor, just his mind, had beaten two battle beasts back. In the slave quarters, Eli found a small group waiting for him. Sira stood in front, arms crossed. Beside her was a bug-like alien named Click and a large four-armed creature named Drogon. All prisoners, all survivors. "You're not just a fighter," Sira said. "You're a thinker," Eli nodded. "I don't want to fight at all, but I want to live, and maybe escape." Click's eyes twitched. "Impossible. No one escapes the Tarsk arena," Drogon rumbled. "Unless the beasts help." They all turned to Eli. He looked around carefully, then said, "I need more tools. I need to access the beast control center. That's where the main signals come from. If I can hack that, maybe we can turn the whole system against them." Sirah smiled for the first time. "Now you sound like a human worth following." Later that night, a deep growl echoed in the prison halls. Heavy chains clanked. Guards shouted. Drelgor was being moved. Eli watched through the bars as the giant beast was dragged through the corridor, its eyes glowing in the dark. It looked around slowly, then stopped. It saw Eli, and didn't growl, didn't roar. It just looked. The beast that once tried to kill him now showed no hatred, no hunger, only confusion, and maybe memory. Eli whispered, "You remember, don't you?" In the control tower above the arena, Kruvak was furious. "This human is no slave," he growled to his officers. "He's a threat." A younger officer asked, "Should we kill him now?" Kruvak raised a clawed finger. "No, we will crush him with power. I will call for a final match." He turned to the screens showing all the beasts in their cages. "I will fight him myself," Kruvak said. "In front of everyone. No more tricks, no machines, just muscle and bone." He smiled. "But when I win, I'll make the beast watch him die." Back in the slave cell, Eli finished fixing the last wire in his device. His small signal jammer now worked for a full minute, maybe more. He turned to Sira. "Tomorrow, I think Kruvak will call for something big. Then we'll be ready," she said. Eli looked up at the stars outside the prison window. "I didn't come here to fight monsters," he whispered. "But if they want a war, then I'll give them something they won't forget." The next morning, the entire Tarsk arena buzzed with excitement. Alien nobles filled the high seats, dressed in gold armor and shining robes. Giant banners waved in the wind, each showing a picture of Kruvak the Fang, the warlord of the arena. Word had spread to nearby planets. Today was the fight. Kruvak himself would enter the arena, and he would crush the human with his bare hands. Guards in black armor marched along the walls. Drones flew overhead, recording every moment. Even high-ranking alien generals had come to watch. In the prisoner cells below, Eli Ward sat on the floor, legs crossed, staring at a broken collar in his hands. It was from one of the beasts he had defeated. He had taken it apart, studied every piece. And now he knew how the system worked. Near him stood Sira, Click, and Drogon, the small group of prisoners who had become his allies. They were ready. "Are you sure about this?" Sira asked. Eli nodded. "Today is not just a fight. It's a test. If I can survive Kruvak, if I can break their control system, the whole arena will change." Drogon cracked his knuckles. "If You fall, we fight. Click twitched his insect arms. And if you win? Eli looked at them all. Then we begin a new game. Our game. The doors opened. Guards grabbed Eli and dragged him toward the arena. The crowd screamed and cheered. Alien announcers shouted his name across the speakers. Eli Ward, the human who made beasts kneel. The floor of the arena was hot and dry. The sun above burned red. Across the sandy field stood Kruvak, wearing only a leather belt and steel arm wraps. His gray skin gleamed with sweat. His claws were sharp. His teeth longer than a knife. He raised his arms and roared. The crowd went wild. Kruvak pointed at Eli. This ends now, little creature. I will break you in front of my people. Eli stepped forward calmly. He wore no armor, just his torn shirt. His boots and something small hidden inside his sleeve. His final fixed signal disruptor. I'm not afraid of you, Eli said. Kruvak laughed. You should be. The announcer gave the signal. The match began. Kruvak charged like a bull. Eli jumped to the side. Dust flew. Kruvak's fist smashed into the ground where Eli had just stood. Eli didn't try to punch or kick. He stayed light, fast, dodging every attack. Kruvak roared again, swinging wide, but Eli ducked under. The crowd shouted insults. Fight, human! Don't just run! But Eli had a plan. He needed time. Just a few seconds more. Then, he rolled toward the control tower on the arena wall. Near it, a metal pillar held the main control antenna for the beast collars. He had noticed it during every fight. Kruvak saw him move. You run like a worm, he screamed. He ran at Eli again. This time, Eli didn't dodge. He turned, raised his hand, and pressed the button. A sharp blue pulse shot out from the device. The control antenna sparked. Lights blinked. Across the arena compound, strange noises filled the air. In their cages, the beasts growled. On the guard tower screens, alerts began flashing in red. Beast signal lost error. Command failure system override. Detected Kruvak stopped. Confused. What did you do? Eli smiled. I broke your leash. Deep underground, the cages opened. Beasts stepped out. Confused. Free. Drelgor, the four-eyed monster, walked slowly toward the arena gate. Its eyes glowed, not with hate, but with awareness. Sira, Click, and Drogon were already moving. While all eyes were on the fight, they had used the chaos to take out a guard. Click used stolen claws to cut the locks on the slave cells. One by one, prisoners rushed out. Some had metal bars. Others had chains. Many had nothing at all. But they followed. Sira's voice. To the surface. To the arena. Back on the arena floor, Kruvak charged again, this time with wild rage. He tackled Eli, slamming him into the dirt. Blood ran from Eli's mouth. The warlord raised his claw, ready to end it. Then, a loud growl. The gate burst open. Drelgor entered. The arena. The crowd gasped. The beast walked slowly, ignoring the guards, ignoring the announcers. It saw Eli lying hurt. It saw Kruvak standing above him. Kruvak stepped back. No, obey me. I made you. He raised his own remote control, pressed the command button. Nothing happened. Drelgor roared, louder than ever. It charged, not at Eli, but at Kruvak. The warlord screamed as the beast tackled him to the ground. He fought back, but it was no use. Drelgor's claws pinned him down. Its face came close. Kruvak froze, expecting death, but the beast didn't kill him. It just held him there. Eli stood up slowly, blood on his chin. He looked at Kruvak, trapped, helpless, and he said, "Now it's your turn to kneel." Kruvak shouted in rage, "I will never kneel to a human!" Eli turned to the crowd and raised his voice. "Remember this day, not because I beat him, but because we broke the chains." At that moment, the freed prisoners entered the arena, shouting and cheering. Guards dropped their weapons. Some ran. Some begged for mercy. Aliens from many worlds stood beside Eli now. Sira lifted a flag made from old cloth and armor pieces. On it was a simple mark, 2 broken chains. Click shouted, "We are no longer prisoners!" Drogon growled, "We are the unbroken!" The crowd didn't know what to do. Some ran. Others cheered. For the first time in Tarsk history, a slave had not just won a fight, but started a movement. That night, Eli stood on the highest point of the arena ruins. Fires burned around him. The prisoners were now free. The beasts roamed, but didn't attack. Without their collars, they were calm, curious. Sira stood beside Eli. "You did it," she said. "We did it," he replied. She looked at Drelgor sitting quietly near the gate. "What now?" Eli stared at the stars. "We leave this planet. We tell others. We build something better, and we make sure no one else kneels again." The fires in the Tarsk arena burned all night. Thick smoke rose into the dark sky, painting it red and gray. The once powerful arena, home to hundreds of brutal fights, now lay in ruins. Its gates were broken. The cages were empty. The slaves were free. But deep underground, far below the arena floor, one thing still remained. Kruvak the Fang. He sat in chains, locked inside the same prison where he had once ruled. His face was bruised. One of his arms was broken, and yet his eyes still burned with hate. "I will destroy them," he whispered to himself. "The human, the beast, the rebels, all of them." Above him, the new leaders of the uprising were gathering. Eli Ward stood in the arena's central control room. The walls were covered with broken screens, blinking lights, and shattered command pads. Eli, Sira, Click, and Drogon were all there, looking at a map of the Tarsk system. "This place is just one arena," Eli said. "There are others, dozens, maybe more. The Tarsk Dominion runs them all." Click pointed at a flashing red dot. "This one here, Arena Station 7. It's in orbit. That's where they send prisoners before shipping them across the stars." Sira crossed her arms. "We can't let them keep doing this," Drogon grunted. "Then we fight." Eli looked at the map again. His face was serious. "We do more than fight. We break the system. They had no warships, no army, no big weapons, but they had something new, hope." And Eli had a plan. 2 days later, the rebels found an old cargo ship hidden in a hangar under the arena. It was rusted and slow, but still worked. Eli and Click fixed its engines and patched the controls. They called it the Unbroken. One night, as they prepared to leave for the orbiting station, Eli stood near the ship's ramp with Drelgor beside him. The beast had become quiet, always following Eli like a silent shadow. Its metal collar was gone, and it had scars across its back. But its eyes were calm now. Sira came up beside him. "You're really taking the beast with you?" Eli nodded. "He's not a beast. He's a survivor, just like us." Sira looked at Drelgor and smiled. "Then let's go show the galaxy what survivors can do." Meanwhile, in the deepest part of the prison, Kruvak sat alone, but he was not forgotten. High-ranking Dominion ship landed in secret outside the ruined arena. Inside it were 3 elite Tarsk enforcers and a pale-skinned alien commander named Voreth. He wore silver armor and carried a pulse sword on his back. Voreth walked down into the prison with cold eyes. He looked at Kruvak through the bars. "So, the human defeated you," Kruvak growled. "I was betrayed. The beasts—" Voreth raised a hand. "Silence! The High Lords are not pleased. The arena fell under your rule. That is weakness." "I can fix it," Kruvak said quickly. "Give me another chance. Let me kill the human. I swear I will crush him." Voreth unlocked the cell. "Then you shall have your chance," he said. "But if you fail again, your death will be slow." The unbroken ship flew through space, quiet and fast. Inside, Eli sat at the pilot seat, while Click monitored the radar. Sira was checking weapons. Drogon stood near the Beast Bay, where Drelgor rested. They were close now. Arena Station 7 floated ahead, a giant ring-shaped structure with long arms and blinking lights. It looked peaceful from a distance, but Eli knew what was inside. Prisoners, slaves, and worse, new beasts being bred for war. "This is where they train the next monsters," Eli said. Click nodded. "If we take out the station, we slow the Dominion." "Down," Sira added. "We can also free the ones still trapped." Eli smiled. "Then let's do both." They landed the ship in a hidden docking port and entered through a broken airlock. Eli led the way. He had hacked into the station's layout. The control room was 4 levels up. The slave pens were on level 2. The beast cages on the top. "Floor, we split up," he said. "Sira, take Click and free the prisoners. Drogon, come with me. We'll handle the control room." Drelgor growled low and followed Eli. They moved fast. Guards were few. This was just a transport station, not a battlefield. Most of the staff didn't expect trouble, but that changed when the alarms started to ring. "Intruders detected." Level 3. Kruvak had arrived. He stormed through the corridors with Voreth and the elite guards behind him. When he saw the rebel mark painted on the wall, a broken chain, he screamed with rage. "He's here! The human is here!" Voreth smiled. "Good. Then we end this now." They split up. Kruvak took the top floor, searching for Eli. But Eli was already at the control room. He connected his device to the command console. Lines of code scrolled fast across the screen. He was unlocking all slave doors, disabling the beast collars, and sending out a signal, a message to the galaxy. "Slaves of the Tarsk Dominion, rise. You are not alone." In the lower levels, Sira and Click were already fighting guards. The prisoners were breaking out, grabbing weapons, shouting in many languages. Up top, Drelgor began smashing through metal walls, clearing the way for Eli and Drogon. Then the final door opened, and Kruvak stood on the other side. This time he wore full armor. His eyes were red with fury, his claws were sharp and dripping with venom. "You should have died in the arena," he growled. Eli didn't flinch. "You should have treated people like people, not animals." They charged. The fight was fierce. Kruvak was stronger, faster. He kicked Drogon aside and slashed Eli's side. Blood hit the floor, but Eli didn't stop. He pulled a pipe from the wall and swung. Kruvak blocked it and roared. Drelgor stepped forward. Kruvak laughed. "You still think this pet will save you?" He pulled out a new control device, but Eli was faster. He raised his disruptor and smashed it against the ground, sending out a final blast. Drelgor roared and leapt, not at Eli, but at Kruvak. The warlord screamed, but Drelgor didn't kill him. He pinned him again. Eli walked up, bleeding, tired, but still standing, and once again, Kruvak heard those words. "Now it's your turn to kneel." The control room was in chaos. Sparks flew from broken lights. Smoke filled the air. The walls shook from explosions below. Alarms screamed. But in the center of it all stood Eli Ward, bloody, breathing hard, but still standing. In front of him, Kruvak the Fang, once a proud warlord, now lay on his knees, held down by Drelgor, the same beast he once used to kill others. The warlord's helmet had fallen off. His gray skin was bruised. One of his fangs was broken. He looked up at Eli with pure hate in his eyes. "I should have killed you in your first match," he growled. Eli walked closer, his side bleeding. He held a broken pipe like a weapon, but he didn't swing it. "No," Eli said calmly. "You should have treated us like people. But you never saw us that way." Kruvak tried to stand, but Drelgor growled deep and pushed him back down. The once mighty beast had chosen a new master, and the galaxy was watching. From the tower above the arena station, a signal had been sent out. Eli's message, the voice of a human who stood up, who refused to kneel, was now echoing across nearby systems. Aliens in other arenas, other slave camps were hearing the call. You are not alone. The chains can be broken. Stand up. Rise. On. The lower levels of Arena Station 7, chaos turned to hope. Sira, Click, and the freed prisoners were taking control. They had overpowered the remaining guards and locked down the prison wings. One by one, cages opened. Aliens from different worlds stepped into the halls, blinking at the light, unsure what was happening. Sira held up a radio, speaking to them. You are free now. Not because we begged. Not because we bowed. But because we fought. In the control room, Voreth, the pale commander, arrived with his elite guards. He saw Kruvak defeated and raised his sword. This rebellion ends here. Eli was ready to fight, but suddenly Drogon roared and charged forward. The four-armed warrior slammed into the elite guards, throwing them aside like toys. Click dropped down from a vent and blasted the power core with a stolen rifle. The lights went dark for a second, then flickered back. Drelgor turned his head and let out a deep, warning growl. Voreth stopped. He stared at the beast, then at the human in front of him, and slowly stepped back. You've already lost, Eli said. Your prisoners are free. Your control system is broken. The galaxy is watching. Voreth looked around, then activated his emergency beacon and vanished in a flash of light, teleporting back to his ship. The remaining Dominion forces began retreating. The station was theirs. The next day, the Unbroken hovered in low orbit above Arena Station 7. Its bay doors were open. Refugees and freed slaves boarded with hope in their eyes. The rebel flag, a symbol of broken chains, was now painted on the hull. Eli stood outside the ship with Sira, Click, and Drogon beside him. Drelgor sat behind them, calmly watching everything. What happens now? Click asked. Eli looked at the stars. We build something new. A place where no one kneels, not humans, not aliens. No one. Sira smiled. We could use a name. Eli thought for a moment. We call it the Free Ring. A station? Sira asked. A home, Eli said. A signal to everyone. If we can turn an arena of pain into a place of peace, the rest will follow. Across the galaxy, Eli's message kept spreading. In distant mining colonies, enslaved workers stopped their machines and listened. In deep jungle worlds, captured warriors heard the human voice and whispered to each other. Even on Earth, which had long been forgotten, by the larger galactic powers, the message was received. The image of a human standing beside a four-eyed beast, holding no weapon, but with fire in his eyes. That image was now everywhere. Some called him a rebel, others called him a fool, but many began calling him something else. The first one who didn't kneel. Kruvak was kept alive, locked in one of the same cages he had, used for others. Eli didn't want revenge. He wanted to show the galaxy that they were different. You're not worth killing, Eli told him. Let your people see what happens when pride blinds the powerful. Kruvak never spoke again. He only sat in silence, watching the world move on without him. Weeks passed. The Free Ring was built from the remains of the arena station. Engineers and builders from different species worked side by side. Sira became its security chief. Click ran communications. Drogon handled defenses. Eli? He stayed quiet. He worked on machines, taught others how to fix tech, and gave advice when needed. He never wanted to be a hero. He only wanted freedom, but even he couldn't stop the stories from spreading. They spoke of how a single human, without weapons or armor, had outsmarted warlords and turned beasts into allies. They spoke of how he refused to kneel, even when death was inches away, and how he gave that courage to others. One evening, Sira joined Eli on the outer walkway of the station. Stars sparkled around them. You never told me what you were before all this, she said. Eli smiled softly. I was a mechanic. I fixed broken things. Sira laughed. I guess you still do. They stood quietly for a moment, watching as a new ship arrived, more refugees looking for safety. Do you think we'll win? She asked. We already did, Eli said. We showed them that we're not animals, that we can fight, not with hate, but with unity. He looked at Drelgor, lying nearby, resting like a giant pet, and that sometimes even monsters can change. As more ships joined the free ring, a movement began. They didn't call themselves soldiers. They called themselves the Unbroken, beings who had survived pain and rose again. They trained. They taught. They prepared. Because they knew the Tarsk dominion would return one day. But next time, they wouldn't face just slaves. They would face an army of the free, led by a human who refused to kneel. Final scene, somewhere in deep space, a secret Dominion fleet gathered. A new warlord looked at the images from Arena Station 7. He saw the human. He saw the beast beside him. He turned to his advisors. Find out everything you can about this Eli Ward. This human. One alien whispered, Should we be afraid of him? The warlord stared at the screen, where Eli stood smiling with Drelgor behind him, and he gave no answer, because deep down, he already knew. Yes, end of Part 5. Story complete.